we got confused at the level between success and survival, right below it. So what do we do in first world societies? We amass things, accumulate things. We try to aggregate as much resources as we can, or raise to the highest positions of power that we can, because that's being successful. That's the thing to do. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be successful. And so, and this isn't necessarily
that's what the group defines as being successful.
It's the general spoken, if not unspoken, pressure. That's what do you do when you were a little kid? After you're old enough to kind of walk and talk by yourself and think a little bit, you send you to school. You start learning things, because you need to learn things to be able to do things. To be a what's it called? Producing citizen. Like a participatory citizen, someone who's being a member of society. What do? You have a job, you do civil service, you're part of the community, you're doing things. And we're meant to do things, but it's just what we're doing and what the goals are. So, at the point when we were able to affect the rest of the group, when we push for our success at the expense of others, and that's really where it hits a point, is where do I want to be in a state of surviving that is pretty nice and pretty ideal, like the highest surviving you can get, lowest amount of stress without overindulgence, so to speak, or do you want to go to that next level? And if you don't see the consequences of that next level, why wouldn't you go there? So you have a few opportunistic individuals that see that opportunity of, well, we've tapped all the resources that can come from the ground easily, but what if we tapped these resources that could get things from the ground, and we could get just as much, even more? See, it's not the whole group. You have certain I'm going to call it predatory instincts, and not human instinctual patterns in terms of the individual and the group. Because it gets to a point where it's pathological what people will do to benefit at the expense of others. And they very much know this consequence, in theory. But here's the thing, here's why we're able to do this. The understanding that I told you about, that you form as a child from your group, is sometimes the only input you get. And if you haven't been exposed to things that would show you otherwise, we're very good at justifying a world. We fill in patterns, we fill in pictures. Even our visual space is constantly filled in, because we have a blind spot where you can't perceive anything, but you never see a blank spot in your field of vision. That's what our brain is meant to do.
Where is this blind spot?
I believe your macula. It's right by it's right where the optic nerve is. So you don't have photoreceptor cells right there. So there's a little blind spot. I think it's like there, something like that. Anyhow, you never see a blind spot. You see everything. It's just like when you have an idea about something that for the most part is true, and there's a little part, you feel that understanding in kind of in your mind, because our brains want cohesive pictures, because that's how you put something away. Otherwise, each has to be labeled and cataloged all by themselves, and the issue of how to organize them is very high in computing power. So that's why you group things together, because then you can get them easier and you can use them more easily, and you don't have to use that cognitive processing resource just to identify something that you've already seen, you already understand. So we like patterns, we latch onto patterns. It makes our brain happy because it's evolutionarily fit to do so. It's beneficial.